Hi, I'm Jazz Tankate, Senior Artisans Editor at Variety, and I'm so excited to be here for this conversation on coming to America. Today, I'm joined by co-hair department head Stacey Morris, co-hair department head Carla Farmer, character makeup designer Mike Marino, actor Arsenio Hall, writer, producer, and actor Eddie Murphy. Hello and welcome to you all.
Hi.
Congratulations, because before we even dive in, Coming to America this past weekend swept the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild Awards with 3 wins: Best Contemporary Makeup, Best Special Effects Makeup, and Best Contemporary Hairstyling. And it is the first film since the Oscar-winning Bombshell to do so. So congrats and thank you for being here. And I'm just excited to dive in. And before we talk about the makeup and the hairstyling of it all, Eddie and Arsenio, what made you want to revisit these characters after spending, decades with them? Like, talk about that.
Well, basically, it's simple for me. Eddie called me and said, we're doing a sequel. And that's where it began. Mr. Murphy?
The movie became, over the years, it became kind of like this, got this cult following. Like none of my other pictures have been like this movie. Like it has they show it on VH1. They show it every year. They show it like 24 hours straight. And people have Coming to America themed parties. I've seen famous people dressed up as the characters on Halloween. And I was like, and it's just, the movie had an audience that just didn't go away. So I was like, hey, let's do a sequel to this movie.
Hey, Quine. I'm sorry I slept with your man.
What is going on here?
Oh, children. Children, I would love for you to meet your brother.
And my name is Mary. How you doing? Just call me your second mom.
Well, look at us. Just one big, happy, Zamundan American, aristocratic, blended family.
Just like the Kardashians.
Carla and Stacey, talk about the process and where you began with the hairstyles after you got the script and after it was announced that you'd be working on Coming to America.
Well, after I read the script, Stacey and I talked about it, and we wanted to bring something new to the movie because we were spending a lot more time in Zamunda this time. So we kind of talked about what that would look like. So we pulled images, not only pictures of people, but we pulled pictures of places, we pulled pictures of colors and jewelry, and we came up with these concepts. And I also pulled from the Afro punk movement. I really like their imagery, and we based a lot of the looks on that subculture.
Yeah. Stacey, what about for you?
Same as Carla. And, we also wanted to implement the tribal aesthetic of the whole thing and have for Nextdoria, elevated urban kind of edgy feel. And on Wesley particularly, in Rwanda, there's a hairstyle called Amazunzu Style, and it originates from the Tutsi tribe. They used to wear it back in the 1920s. And during my research, I saw these styles and I said, oh, this is perfect for Wesley Snipes' character. And so I just decided that I was going to do something like that on him, and got out a pen and a piece of paper and sketched my ideas on paper and executed.
I would like to present to you my daughter, Mapoto.
Well, Mike, you did such an incredible job with the prosthetics of it all. But before that even begins, you have to do this thing called live casting. So talk about working with Eddie and Arsenio and the live casting process.
Well, as Eddie or Arsenio may say, it's probably a horrible process for them because we mix up this rubber and we put it all over their faces and they have to sit still, and it's hard to do. so they were so amazing at that we took so much of the life cast down to their chest. So we really got what we needed. They were extremely patient, but it's definitely a difficult process. But through that process is how we create the makeup. You know, without that, we can't sculpt and create the characters and do the whole process. So it's a vital thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Jazz, just real quick. I don't know if people know this, but Michael, at 9 years old, saw the first Coming to America and decided then that he would start mixing the rubber. He's been on this road for a long time.
Fun
It's
fact.
true.
Really? Okay, share your first Coming to America story.
Well, actually, I have a photograph of me when I'm this, really little kid in high school. And right behind me, there's a picture of Rick Baker, who did the original film with Eddie, did all the makeups. There's a picture of him doing the makeup on Eddie. I hung it on my wall. And it just said, it said, Eddie Murphy, Coming to America, Rick Baker, Oscar winner, makeup, right behind my head. And I'm this little kid, like, sculpting this stuff. So it was really like an obsession for me. Number one, I was the biggest Eddie and Arsenio fan, a freak. I grew up like in the late 80s, 90s. So I was like such a huge fan of theirs to begin with. So on top of that, I'm a huge Rick Baker fan, so the culmination of all of that, it's really like a dream project for me.
Wow. So you put it out there, and look at you working on the sequel. Arsenio, I'm going to start with you. Talk about what that was like, being in Mike's chair, having the life cast put on you, and then just seeing these characters brought to life again after, 3 decades?
Yeah, about 3 decades. Like I said, if it wasn't
tell
for
him
Xanax,
tell him about the time you cried in the chair.
Eddie, do you remember when you came in one day and Arsenio was Baba, and we just starting the process, and Eddie came in to make fun of Arsenio and said, "Well, I'm going home."
Eddie had just rapped, and they estimated that I would be there until about 5 a.m. And yes, there were a few tears. I welled up a little bit.
And I said, "Are you crying?" And he said, I have allergies."
Oh man. Hey, you know what? The first day Mike started on the set was kind of cool, because usually Eddie's in his trailer and I'm in my trailer. And Eddie decided that day we would start in the same trailer. So imagine me and Eddie sitting side by side, looking at the mirror, watching YouTube, and we see these characters coming to life again after 30 years before our eyes. And we start a conversation as Arsenio and Eddie, and 5 hours later, the barbers were talking. And we didn't do it every day together in the same trailer, but that first day, it was brilliant for Eddie to make that choice.
Well, I be damn. Look who done come up in here.
Hey, it's Kunta Kinte and Ebola.
Famine and Blood Diamond.
Nelson Mandela and Winnie.
It's so good to see you. Your neighborhood seems to be thriving.
Oh, that's that gentrification. When the color man had this neighborhood, didn't have shit. And the white man moved in, they got the coffee houses and the dog parks, and my brownstone on Fox Boulevard is worth $10 million.
Your brownstone ain't worth no $10 million.
My brownstone is too worth $10 million, and I'm gonna sell it and get me a Tesla.
Eddie, what was it like for you in the live cast chair, and being with Mike, and then just seeing these characters that we love, that are so iconic, come to life again in this way through his makeup?
Well, I've done a lot of makeup movies, so the process was kind of like, I'm kind of used to it. But I got inspired by how talented Mike was, because Rick Baker did Coming to America and Nutty Professor, and won Oscars for them. And so I'm spoiled. And I've done other movies where I've had, makeup that wasn't stellar makeup. And so I was inspired by how talented Mike was when I was in the chair, seeing it come together, and was like, wow, this This is the top shelf stuff. Because the better it is, the easier it is to get lost in it. It's like when it's real, when you look in the mirror, when you look and you see like, you know, no trace of yourself, then it just raises the level of what you're doing. And he was so talented. So I got inspired by seeing that.
Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah.
He's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jazz, you have no idea how hard these three work. I have a photo actually when I'm in the shaman makeup. And if you look really close, that's Carla's lower face behind me. They are on you constantly. They work so hard. Me and Eddie can have a conversation or do a FaceTime with our children. They never stop working. They are looking at you for the entire time that you are on that set and standing with a brush or some glue and a comb, and it's their tenacity is amazing. I was wondering when you talked to Stacey earlier, Stacey, everything I see that you do is always so brilliant. Is there ever a time when you're planning or designing and you hate the direction you're going? Because when I see it, it's always genius, you know? Do you ever come up with something you're like, no, that ain't good?
Well, our work is never finished. So even if I got to that point where I'm like, this isn't good, then it means I'm not done. You know what I'm saying? So I just keep at it to get it where I want it, get it comfortable. I mean, like Wesley's hair, I had never done that before. So I just worked at it and worked at it till it just came to life, you know?
Yeah. But you created, between the two of you, at least you had like over 1,000 different wigs and hair pieces or some crazy number like that. I mean, talk about like, you know, recreating, going back to the 80s with Arsenio and Eddie and, you know, visiting that time and then just creating all these different looks for the movie. Like, how did you, because I'm assuming the movie didn't shoot chronologically either. So talk about having that ready for like when Craig says, okay, we're going to shoot this scene today, and take us into your process a bit more.
I mean, it was a huge undertaking. Being prepared was definitely part of the process. And we shot in Atlanta. So before we left LA, you know, Carla had like 50 cases of hair to be shipped to Atlanta and supplies and things like that, because we were coming into a territory that we didn't know our resources. We didn't know what the supply houses were out there. We didn't know the people, the hands that we would have to help us. And so being prepared was a big part of it. And then like with the wigs and stuff, just, you know, you mentioned the 80s, getting that stuff done. You know, I watched the movie. There was continuity fluctuations. So I had to pick like a median look between all of them, something that was recognizable to the audience. It would take them right back to those characters that they did before. And then, you know, like with Mike's job, you're recreating something that's already been seen, which I think is more difficult because you have to match it. And matching it was kind of a challenge because, no diss to y'all look amazing, but it's 30 years ago. Like, aesthetics have changed, their faces have changed. And so I had to like proportionately make the ratios match of their face shapes, you know, whether they gained or lost weight, the length and width of the hair. So
shit ain't that different.
so that when you know it was
no hate to y'all, but they changed. I mean, you know, 30 years ago. I mean, look at these are not the same faces.
Like I said, y'all look amazing, but you know, it's been 30 years. So, you know, so that was one of the things, but I feel like I did it. You know what I'm saying? You guys looked amazing. It was great. You know, Arsenio, you had on the hair that you wore, your regular look character. And remember in the beginning, yeah, Simi, I remember you wanted to do like dreads or something like that. And I was like, we can't really move away from what's been established, you know, and Zamunda has like a European influence, you know, straighter textures, things like that. Back then you had a flat top. I wanted to keep you with that full hair. So you still have full hair, but we put a part in it We had it a little more textured, you know, things like that. It's the small things that make the difference and make everything believable. But it was an immense amount of work. We had hair everywhere. Carla can tell you. Go ahead, Carla, tell them.
Yeah, we had a lot of hair, a lot of things I had to make before we got there, because the one thing people need to know, we had no fittings with any of the actors. So I was in my friend's garage making wigs, making hair pieces, all kinds of things. And then once we got there, I didn't know which hair was going to go on which character. So once I got there, then I kind of figured out who was going to wear what. But it was a huge undertaking. They kept saying we didn't have enough money for hair. And so Stacey and I were like, okay.
They kept telling y'all that we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money for hair.
From day one. From day one. From day one.
But we knew what we wanted to achieve and what we wanted to do. So we worked beforehand, endless hours to make sure we got the vision that we created on film.
Now, so Hakeem's hair is all spray on. So, there was no hair shipped in. My hair came in a can. Spray my hair on. You'll think I'm
I never knew.
Spray on hairline and spray on hair.
I never knew about the hair shortage, because there was a day I turned to Carla and I said, for my sense memory and acting, can we put hair under the barber's arm? And Carla was like, we don't have enough hair. And I said, oh, okay. I didn't know we were going through all that, you know. But she was mad that I asked for underarm hair for the barber. Hey, and here's something. Mike and I, when I first met Mike, we went through pictures of older Black men, because Mike, when Stacey was talking about the guys aging, Mike wanted to show me different things like liver spots and molds and things that he thought would happen to the barber or the preacher over the years. So he approached it scientifically, and we looked at Cosby.
He showed you those pictures. He was like, I ain't got to see those pictures. I got a liver spot right here. What are you showing me that for? Look at
Mike literally did like forensics on Rick Baker's makeup, though. You know, it was his roadmap, and then he had to age everything. You know what I'm saying? So he like fine-tooth combed every line, every mole, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jazz, they're so incredible. They work so hard. I mean, these are people who for 9 hours stood next to you with fake teeth saying, you ready? You know, I mean, they are amazing. And
you know what? My second most elaborate makeup didn't make it in the movie. We cut it out the movie.
The farmer, right? And then the other one we didn't do the Denson one.
Which one?
Yes. Denson, the white guy.
Oh yeah. Well, we actually got a real white guy.
we need a director's cut.
See, with Eddie Murphy, it's hard for a white man to get work. You know?
We need a director's cut so we can see those characters. But you know, it does.
You don't want to see that. You don't want to see those characters because one of them went to jail for fucking a goat. And
his character. That was a great makeup, though. They're two good makeups, really good makeups, and really long. It was painful to cut them.
You got to see it behind the scenes on that.
But I mean, let's talk about, you know, we're celebrating the incredible artistry behind, you know, the camera that helps bring your work to life. How much does the artistry help bring the story and your characters to life? Like, at what point does the character come alive for you when you're sitting in the chair? Is it like
that thing I mentioned earlier of Eddie and I sitting next to each other the first day? I noticed that, you know, when you're worried about the voice, you're worried about the mannerisms before you go to bed the night before. But when you look in that mirror and the Merino magic starts to happen, it just comes to you. you know, and like I said, we started talking as Eddie and Arsenio and ended up talking as Clarence and Morris.
And when Stacy would spray on my hair, when she was sprayed on, when she had it properly sprayed on, I would look in the mirror and say, I'm ready.
Lavelle, Princess Tenashi, this is your bastard brother from America. And Princess Uma, this is your bastard brother from America. And this is my eldest daughter, Princess Mika. Mika, this is your
bastard brother. They know. I think they get the idea.
It absolutely is a collaborative effort to bring these characters to the screen. And like I said, when they do their jobs the way they did their jobs, it just raises the level of what we're doing. You get lost in it when you look and you see, you know, this other person, and it's just, you know, you have a strong hairline.
I haven't.
But how did you all work with the prosthetics, with the makeup, like with the individual, you know, makeup teams, and like, I mean, going back to the village question, like, talk about, like, let the audience realize like how big this team was to help, you know, bring.
Well, you got these three geniuses. All of them have assistants. And then there's a security guy, because I would want to wear Simi's hair out to the club at night. And there was a security guy they would send with me to make sure the hair got back in the morning.
I mean, it's huge. Like Mike, he had his own, you know, trailer at his base camp with his whole team. You know, then there's a main trailer. And then we have Eddie's trailer, and the teeth guy, he has his little area. It's like a lot of people, you know. And then sometimes the teeth guy, what do you call him? The dental artist, the dental, I don't know what you call art. But you know, and then at times I remember, Carla, we'd have a whole stage full of people helping, just making hair like a factory, you know. So
hey, I had two geniuses, Maurice and Anne Bray and Maurice Beeman, who did a lot of the sculpturing and making of the wigs for the background behind the scenes. So we had an awesome team of people behind us.
And it's not like they just apply it and then it's you go for the whole day. It's constant maintenance. The whole day you have it on. They're constantly touching it and fixing it. In between every shot, they're doing something. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of work that goes into it.
And sometimes Mike would have to run to the airport because a hand or an ear was being flown in from New York, or an extra head. There's a forehead at the airport, and they have to go out and pick some extra stuff up.
I mean, talk about that, Mike. I mean, we mentioned like the number of, you know, wigs that Carla and Stacey had, and I think you something like 300 different pieces and wigs. Like,
yeah. So each makeup, I think, was somewhere between like 13 to 20 pieces per every time you did it. You know, so you know, bless these guys because they were so patient. You know, you glue a neck on, and then you glue a cheek on, and then you paint out this color, and then you put a nose on, and then an eye bag, an eyelid, and all this stuff, all the whole time. And it's so much work. And once you glue it on and paint it, you glue the wigs on, and you do the eyebrows, and any little thing, nose hairs and ear hairs, and all these things like that. And then hands. And after that, you know, Ruth Carter's costumes, you know, and just so much work going on. And then they got to film, and then they got to come back and remove makeup. So it is just like, I always think of what we do as like sidewalk. You know, you do this masterpiece and stuff like that, and then it rains every day and it's gone. And then the next day you do it all over again, and you hope the next day is good again, because you're like, some days you have like, oh, that's money, you know, that looks perfect. You know, and the next day you're like, shit, I glued the thing on a little to the left. Fuck. And then you
there was a day, the only time I got mad at Mike is one day he had done the shaman's hands so perfect, these 90, 100-year-old hands. He had done them so perfect. He actually tried to talk me into taking the hands back to the hotel and sleeping in the, and I'm like, Mike, that's too much. Because
really
I just want to leave. Yeah, he wanted me to.
Hilarious.
He said, "Come on,
Were
we
you
don't have to
sleeping
do
those
this."
times?
I was like,
Oh, man.
Mike, I can't do it. I love you, Mike, but I cannot go to the hotel in these 100-year-old hands. I'm sorry. Because you already wake up every morning with little brown boogers and rubber in your bed, you know, and the maid, every day the maid comes to my room, the maid would be like, "I clean your bed," and she would wink. she didn't know what all that was in the bed. She thought I was some kind of freak. She don't know what Coming to America 2 is, or who Clarence and Morris are.
Or if somebody would have seen you with them hands in the hotel, some fans. Yeah, I seen Arsenio Hall. And, oh, you see that motherfucker's hands? His hands look crazy.
His face look 50, but his hands look 150. Wait till you see him.
I'm telling you, something wrong with that brother. His face looked like Arsenio, but his hands like it was 100 years old.
Oh my gosh. What were the challenges? You know, you mentioned that this was shot in Atlanta. What were the challenges of shooting in Atlanta with the hair, the makeup, prosthetics, all of that?
The climate was a definite challenge. I can tell you countless stories, but one of the most prominent ones is the hair on Wesley's chin and the wig. Like with the climate, it's hot, it's humid, you know, you're sweating and things like that. And like Arsenio said, we had to just stay on it every minute, every second, you know. And so we had 2 or 3 people, including myself and Vera Steinberg, who was Eddie's makeup artist. We were just on his chin. Like we spent a day of just being on his chin, making sure that that hair on his chin did not release between takes. So
Perhaps now you would like to solve your problems diplomatically.
I'm listening.
Hey, Jazz, there are points where our faces are totally covered. And if you sweat, in Atlanta, you sweat, especially if you're in Rick Ross's house, you sweat and you feel a drip that you can't touch because it's on your real face. And one time Mike had to open up something and let sweat out. He had to let it out. He had to do an Atlanta drain on me.
The surgery, man. You gotta pierce a little hole, you get a piercing, and it all comes out.
or say, for instance, sometimes Eddie and I would drink coffee or have a bite to eat when you break for lunch. That was a nightmare for them, you know, because you can't put anything in your mouth and chew without making that stuff start to come apart. But they were on us every minute. Like I told you, I don't have any pictures of me and the characters alone. Every picture of the shaman, Carla's behind me with a hand like this. Mike has got his finger on my nose talking to his family. It's like they are always there. And here comes Stacy with some extra hair we were allocated.
So we're gonna wrap. Mike, I'm gonna ask you, you created many characters. Who was your favorite to create and why?
Oh no. Well, it's a tie, I think, man, I think Baba, our character on Arsenio, and obviously Saul on Eddie. Those are my 2 favorites. But I don't know. I mean, it's Randy Watson too. I mean, I'm just such a huge fan of Randy Watson that I can't pick really. I really can't pick. They're all my favorites, to be honest.
They're all like your children, Mike. You can't pick between one of your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Arsenio's choice. I can't make it.
I made you pick. Anyway, Arsenio, Stacy, Carla, Mike, Eddie, thank you so much for that incredible insight into the process and the makeup and the hair of Coming to America. Really fabulous conversation.
And my spray.
And your spray.
Spray.
Where we need the product.
That was the easiest part of the process. At the end of the night, most of them have to get, when you have the glue on, you have to get up to the wig, you got to go all this to get. Mine, she would just take a playing card and scrape it off.
But you know
What's
what?
in your bed?
Eddie and I joke about that, but even what Stacy does in that respect is genius. I remember back in the day before they had that spray, Stacy would shave me, put it in a jar, and use it to glue on me to do something. You know, she was a genius before she had the supplies to be a genius.
Well, thank you for
Necessity
sharing.
is the mother of invention, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Save that hair. Okay. When you shave, save your hair. I'm like, okay, Stace, bye.
And there's
Save that hair.
there's artistry to that spray on stuff, because she gave me a can of that stuff to like use it on my home if I want to use it at home. And doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
We'll save that hair for Coming to America 3. Watch this space. Thank you so much for that incredible conversation, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.